Hello, football fans. Well, we are almost done with this regular season. There's 2 weeks left. Week 17 is going to be loaded and insane. But of course, I am here to announce the clinching scenarios for this week. But there are a lot of them for Week 17. A lot of numbers in the NFL could be thinned out. A lot of teams could get in. A lot of teams end up eliminated, and some may stay alive for the final week. Because there are so many, I'm going to do this separately, 2 videos with focusing on each of the conferences. I'm going to start with this whole video will only detail the AFC's storylines, and there's quite a lot that could be settled by entering the final week next week. But right now, here are the AFC's storylines. The Baltimore Ravens, with their big win over the 49ers, remain at number 1 in the conference. They couldn't clinch the division this past week because the Browns won. The Browns are still alive in that race. But the Ravens can get it all this week. If they win or tie, or if Cleveland loses or ties, the Ravens win the AFC North. However, if they win, they get it all. The road to the AFC goes through the Beltway in Baltimore. And the reason for that is Baltimore plays against the number 2 team in the conference. That's right, the Miami Dolphins. They stand at number 2 in the AFC with their win over the Cowboys, which put them in the playoffs. As of now, they are the only 2 AFC teams to officially lock in spots. There are 5 spots left, but 4 of them can be snatched up this week. As for Miami, their quest to get the AFC East remains intact, and with the win, they earn the right to control their own destiny. If they win or tie, they get the division, or they can also get it if Buffalo loses or ties. And like I said, yes, it's Miami that's facing Baltimore, and if Miami wins that game, then they can get the number 1 seed next week with a win. Kansas City sure is in trouble, aren't they? They've lost 3 or 4, but they're still in first place in the division, but it's getting a little bit wide open now. They still control their own destiny as far as winning the division. A win or tie would get it done. They're at home against the Bengals this week. That's the last home game of the regular season for them. They could also get the AFC West if the Raiders and Broncos both lose or tie. So yeah, Kansas City kind of needs to get it done, though. They are out of it for the number 1 seed, which means they're going to start a wildcard weekend, and they'll have to play a road game. Patrick Mahomes has not played a road playoff game, not counting Super Bowls, ever. Well, at least some luck is on the side of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags lost their 3rd straight, but Week 16 saw everybody in the AFC South lose. So Jacksonville still remains in first place via tiebreaker. It's a 3-way tie at 8-7. Even better, they can clinch the division this week. They have to win, and Indy and Houston both have to lose. But they have to wonder, will Trevor Lawrence play? Because he injured his shoulder that game against Tampa. Jaguars are at home against the 2-13 Carolina Panthers. Well, it is amazing what the Browns are doing. It really is. They're still trucking on with Joe Flacco, who will turn 39 next month. Actually, in less than a month. Yes, he's older than I am, but not by much, but he is. But yeah. So the Browns entered last week needing to win just 2 of their final 3 to get in the playoffs. They won last week. Now they're 1 win away, and that's all they have to do. A win or tie gets it. And they have they have 4 different ways they can back in. Pittsburgh loss or tie, Buffalo loss, Jacksonville loss or tie, or if Houston and Indy both fail to win. So they have a whole bunch of different ways to get in, even if they lose their Thursday night game against the New York Jets. Well, Bills, you did it. It wasn't easy. You never make things easy, but you did it. You above the playoff line, and you can get in this. You can get in this week. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can get in, and they require a win. 5 require a win and quite a bit of help. The others require a tie and a lot of help. Basically, I'm just gonna crib note it. They need a win and 2 or 3 of those 8 and 7 teams to lose. If they tie, they need 3 of them to lose. It's gonna be interesting. So yeah, the Bills can get in, and they'll have to do a lot of scoreboard watching. The easier route is the division. If they win, and Miami loses that game, then Buffalo could get to the AFC East if they beat the Dolphins in the head-to-head matchup, which will decide the division. It's going to be interesting. So those teams can lock in spots, but the story does not end there. We have to talk about that 8 and 7 cluster. Steelers, Bengals, Colts, and the Texans all knotted at 8 and 7. So one of them is above the playoff line, and that one team is the Colts. The Colts have so many tiebreakers working in their favor. That puts them at number 7, which is the last playoff spot. The other three are behind the line by a hair. In order, it's Houston at number 8, Pittsburgh at 9, and Cincy at 10. Cincy is at the bottom of that logjam because they were trounced by the Steelers. And that Steelers win was one they needed. But yeah, so Indy actually controls their own destiny as far as getting in. They need to win out. And they're also the only team who can't be eliminated this week. The other 3 can, but it's not losing out. Lucky for them. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. That 8 and 7 cluster. They all have a good shot, but Pittsburgh, Houston, and Cincy, especially Cincy, they're gonna have to be going. They're gonna have to have a lot of rooting interests because they need to. Those teams need a lot of help. Because Indy play. I'll get to Indy's game later because it involves something else. But Pittsburgh plays Seattle, and I'm definitely going for Pittsburgh for obvious reasons. Houston and Tennessee play each other, and like I said, Cincy goes to Arrowhead to face the Chiefs. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that 8 and 7 cluster because and see if they make it to the final week. Last but not least, we have the Raiders and the Broncos who are hanging in at 7 and 8. Yes, they're still alive. And not only for a walk-off spot, they could actually win the division. Yeah, true story. I said I was going to mention the Colts later. That's because they play the Raiders. Now, it's interesting. The Raiders can still win a division, and they earned that right because they went to Kansas City and beat them. So the Raiders need to win out, and Kansas City needs to lose out pretty much. The Raiders and Broncos play each other to end the regular season. And if Kansas City is not careful, that game can end up being for the division. And can you imagine the Broncos winning, especially with the breaking news that Russell Wilson's going to be benched for the rest of the season? So Russell Wilson's not going to start the final 2 games, and that may end up resulting in the Broncos finishing first in the AFC West. My goodness. Though a lot of crazy things happen in like the final weeks of the season, so who knows? This could happen. So anyway, that's the AFC playoff picture. That's a look at the AFC playoff picture. And my story about the AFC playoff picture will be featured. Check it out when you can. So if you like this video, click like. For those on YouTube, for those on YouTube, click subscribe if you want more. For those on TikTok, feel free to hit that follow button. And a little later, just very shortly after this, I'll have my video about the NFC picture. So stay tuned for that.